4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to HVAC Success Secrets Revealed, a show where we interview industry leaders and disruptors, revealing the success secrets to create and unleash the ultimate HVAC business. Now your hosts, Thaddeus and Evan.
Hey, welcome back to another HVAC Success Secrets Revealed with Thaddeus and Evan, your HVAC marketing experts, where we have good conversations with good people, and any good conversation worth having is worth having drunk. So cheers, Jeff. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, no worries. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Yes.
So for those of you that do not know Jeff Packard, he is the owner of One Stop Heating and Air out of Utah. And he is on pace right now for 2021 to do revenues of $3.5 million. And Jeff followed the traditional route of going from being a technician in the field, learned the craft. I mean, he's been in the industry for over 20 years, learned the craft, was a master technician, then started a company and had to learn an entirely different skill set. Went from being the chuck in the truck, right, that we always talk about, the one guy in the truck doing his thing, to then growing a team, now having a staff over 15 people. He's done it the right way and started with the culture of the company and built it up from there. So thank you so much for joining us today, Jeff.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
No worries. And from what we've heard, you're a wealth of knowledge. I know you just told us before the show you're an open book. So we look forward to diving in and hearing some of those top secrets that you've got.
Sweet. Let's do it.
Awesome. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your story, why you got into the business in the first place, and then that journey into being a business owner, because that's not everyone's aspiration. You know, was that always something that really attracted you to the industry?
Yeah, no, sounds good. I got into the industry, I think like most of us did, kind of by accident. I was young and I had a roommate that was doing this kind of work, and I was kind of kicking around doing odd jobs. And he says, why don't you come work with me? And then the rest is history on that. As far as HVAC, been doing it since March of 2000. Didn't have aspirations of being an owner. When I was a top selling tech at the company I worked for 12 years, I was doing pretty good. And customers would always ask me if it was my business or why don't you start your own business? And I would always say, well, they treat me too good to have to worry about all that stress and stuff of being a business owner. But here I am. So
if you didn't want to be a business owner to begin with, I mean, what caused you to take the plunge or the leap of faith to start your own shop?
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily that I didn't want to be a business owner. It was more that I was really comfortable in the position I was in with the company I was at, and I had a lot of leniency, and I got all the best opportunities, and so I could make $200,000 to $300,000 a year without being a business owner. So I was pretty content and happy with that. And then the company I worked for started going downhill, little by little, lot by lot, actually, and so I had to work harder and harder every year to make the same money. And it just got to the point that I realized my opportunity there, my time there was limited. And I had one or two options, was to go to another company and do the same thing, which that didn't really sound appealing to me, or go and start my own thing. And so I had a couple people by my side and jumped out and decided to do this instead of go to work for the man again.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And it's funny. It was a conversation I had actually in the car ride to school this morning with my kids, that nothing fails like success. Right. When things are going well, that's when people get complacent, right? We've all been to the restaurant where last year they made amazing food and the staff was exceptional and the service was exceptional. And then you go back a year later and all of a sudden everyone's snooty and they don't have the time for you because they're just always busy. So they expect to always be that way. And then another year later and they're under, right? Nothing fails like success. So learning that lesson, then how have you applied some of the knowledge that you took from being an employee and working for the other company to now applying that in running your business?
I applied a lot of it, really. It's you kind of learn the things that work and the things not to do. The company I worked for, I seen them give up on marketing we had one of the best names in our market at that time, and they thought that we were branded enough that they could pull back on marketing and invest that money into outside of the company. And I remember a couple, 3, 4, or 5 summers ago, it was 100 degrees and they were calling their phone to make sure it was ringing on like the most demand days. Like, oh yeah, it's ringing, it's working. And I'm over there as a technician because I seen it, and I seen the marketing from the technical side. I seen the branding, and they just completely dropped that off and thought that their brand alone could hold it. And that's definitely not the case. It happened quick overnight when they did that. So learning a lot of that, and the company I worked for was good, and I appreciate them and the experiences and the opportunities I had there. I had a better opportunity at that company than most people did because they were the type of company that would take a couple hours off the installers' paychecks, skim a little bit of commission off of the technicians. They were always doing that. The only reason they wouldn't do it to me is because they knew I was on top of it to the point that I wouldn't let them get away with it. But I learned that big time was treat your people right to get your people to stay versus they had a lot of turnover there.
That's really shitty to hear that companies are doing that. I mean, it happens. It happens across the board, variety of different industries, but it's still, yeah.
It sucks, and it sucked to see it. I watched it from an outside because I watched it happen to all my peers, but I was always the top producer there, so they knew really not to mess with me. So I didn't experience it, but I watched it, and it was shitty.
Yeah. Yep. Fuck. So taking that leap, you get into business for yourself. You've learned a couple lessons. You pick and chose and cherry pick some of the things that were great about that company, and then some of the things that they were doing wrong. And I mean, giving up on marketing, an easy lesson from that is A&W. A&W used to be the #1 producer of fast food restaurants across North America.
That's crazy.
In the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Right. They were almost out of business at the beginning of 1992. They got down to 200 franchises across the US. I think it was 100 and change. And they were considering rebranding themselves to A&W Root Beer and Hot Dogs because their #1 producing restaurants were all in the middle of food courts. Right. They got completely shut out by McDonald's. McDonald's came in, saw an opportunity, took over the market with proper marketing. Right. Again, nothing fails like success when you get complacent. So you came in, you launched your business, you got started with it. Now you've got a whole nother skill set that you've got to learn in terms of how to run a business while still being a technician, still making sales. But now you've got to do up the invoices. You got to collect the payments. You got to market yourself. What were some of the things that you did early on that really set the stage for where you're at now?
We marketed, we invested a lot into marketing out the gate. I knew that we had to spend money to make money. So that was one of the things that we did good as far as coming out the gate. The rest of it, man, I'm still learning. I'm still in the field, not full-time by no means. I've got some good service technician sales guys that are picking up that slack. And so I'm trying to stay in the field as when it gets really busy. But the rest of the time I'm trying to train my guys. And it's a battle. I thought when I started this in 18 that it would be easy. I got to figure it out. I can sell equipment to customers and it's easy, but the business part of it has definitely been a challenge. Learning how to be a better leader is something that I'm not the best at. I focus on trying to continue to get better. But that's the biggest thing is being a leader and being the person that 25 people want to work for and that want to go put 8 hours, 10 hours of hard work in for it.
Well, I'm always reminded when you hear about, leader, there's 4 types of leaders, right? There's the person who's in a leader, and they're all in leadership positions. Person number 1, they don't want to learn to be a leader and they don't have natural ability. The other person has natural ability, but they don't want to learn. The other person has natural ability plus they want to learn. and the other type of person just wants to learn, but they don't have the natural ability, and anywhere in between that, right? And so you have to find where you're at to be able to adapt and get into that. And it's, if you're saying, hey, you want to be a better leader, it doesn't come naturally to you. Well, you're falling into the category of don't have the natural ability, but you want to learn. So what are some things that you've done in terms of a leadership perspective to be able to learn how to become a better leader?
I would say being more patient. My wife would kind of laugh at this. Patience is the thing I have the least. I was with a customer yesterday and he told me, he says, you and me both, he says, I prayed to God to give me patience and I want it right now. So that's me. I wear my heart on my sleeve. If it's a stressful day and things are going bad, then people can see that on me. And so that's something that I've been focusing on more than anything is my body language. I do feel like I'm a good leader and a natural leader. It's just I've got to figure out those situations. I can lead everybody behind me and let's go and let's get it. And I'm the type of leader to lead from the front. But it's the psychology part and keeping people happy and understanding their needs and all that. That's the stuff that I need to continue to work on.
Totally. Well, it's one thing to be able to lead someone who's like you, right?
Exactly.
That's easy to do. That's easy to communicate to, right? See what I do and do that, and I'm going to lead you. It's a totally different thing when you're trying to lead another type of person, another personality trait that doesn't respond to that type of leadership. So what sorts of things have you been doing to continue to learn and get better?
Hire the right people for the right positions and go through my management team and try to stay out of situations that could cause that misunderstanding.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, you surround yourself with the people that that bring you up, right? It's the book Good to Great. What separates the great companies from the good companies that's getting, well, A, the leadership team, but B is getting the right people on the bus and the right seats to be able to drive it home. For that, if you know that, hey, my strong suit's not in the office as the office manager, the general manager of operations, cool. Well, then don't be in the office. Being the office manager or being, the general manager of operations, remove yourself, hire somebody for that role who's better at it than you, and then you can have an even higher level of success within your business.
For sure. No, I believe that 100%.
So what positions have you hired? Because obviously in that first step, and let's go back even to when you were first starting, what were some of those first initial hires that you wanted to bring in first? And then, in terms of your management team, what's that setup look like now?
Initially, when I started business, I wasn't planning on being a one-man business, and we didn't start out that way. I started out with someone in the office and a couple installers. So the office is one of the most important things, the front line, speaking to the customer, booking the call and setting the tone. It's huge. I mean, you guys know it, but it can be the difference of a 40-50% book rate compared to a 70-80% book rate. But it's not just the book rate, it's the building that expectation when the customer calls in for us to go out and provide that quality 5-star service. So office is huge. That's always been a position that we focused on. Installation.
Oh, did he freeze?
Well, I'm still here, so it's definitely not my internet connection this time. So it sounds like he did freeze. But you talk about building the expectations of a client. I read a post today from another business. I think it was inside the Service Avengers group, and he was talking about how this customer had this negative review after they were upfront. He's like, but the customer's like, first off, the very first words out of his mouth were, "Man, I had an amazing customer experience from the moment that I called your team." And it was, and they called a couple other people, and he's just like, that's what made me want to continue to do business with you, because they set those expectations from the very beginning of that call when they first had that first point of contact. Customer expectations and how can you value that, which is, I think a lot of people, I mean, how many times have you called a business and they go, hello, or they go, if they imagine they called in to say, one stop.
Right.
Right. Like, I mean, I know that you would cringe if your team did that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
He cringed right now.
He cringed right now when I said that. But what is your team doing, right? How can you monitor that process to make sure that you have that expectations built up from the very get-go to serving your customers? Because at the end of the day, you don't have anything without your customers, and you also don't have anything with your people inside your office. You have to take care of them too. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
we lost you mid thought there.
Yeah, I wasn't there for the first part of that question. I was gone, but
no, Thaddeus was just bringing up a quote that he saw earlier this week, a post regarding expectations and having the right expectation of your dispatch team, right? Your CSRs, to make sure that they're answering the phone the right way, setting the proper expectation for the customer experience right from that first phone call all the way through.
Just continued education, man. Just keep going, keep learning, keep trying to get better at it. Like you said, complacency, you think you're good at it, but continued education, still learning and training and getting better at it always.
Totally. One of the things that you said is you started that thought talking about your team and the business that you were right at the beginning, was you have to know what kind of business you want to be. And you knew you didn't want to be just a one guy in a truck doing your thing. And I think that's something that is really overlooked a lot in the industry, because there's a lot of pressure to perform and be a 7-figure, 8-figure, 9-figure business, to grow a big team. But if that's not your makeup as a business owner,
right?
If that's not something that sits right with you because you want to take vacations and go be with your family, and you've got young kids at home and you want to spend time with them, like, you need to know what it is that you really want out of this business right from the get-go and decide on that first and have that be your filter for your decision making moving forward.
No, I agree with you 100%. And I came from a larger company and knew that I didn't want to go back to installing furnaces and air conditioners. That's for damn sure. So I knew I needed people behind me, but definitely I get it. There's a lot of people, and I've got a lot of friends and people that work for themselves or have 1 or 2 employees, and they definitely got a lot more freedoms and probably not as much stress, but at the same time, they own a job rather than business in a company. So my goal is to keep growing this. I mean, we're growing from last year to this year, and we're going to continue growing, and we want to keep getting bigger for sure.
I love it. Well, I mean, there's people that you said they buy a job, right? I mean, there's 125,000 heating and plumbing businesses in the United States, 25% of which are over $1 million in revenue. So there's a lot of smaller businesses out there where they buy their job. And hey, if that's you, cool. If you're happy, cool. Not everybody wants to be, the victors in the issues in having, $50-60 million per year businesses, or, the Gettles, or the Anthony Pereira's $100 million per year businesses. Like, that's what people glamorize. But there's a lot of people like you that are in the trenches who are building their business at $3.5 million per year, who want to continue to grow and have success in turn. How you measure your success is entirely up to you.
For sure.
Yeah, it needs to be an internal thing.
Yeah.
One of the other things you said is you invested into marketing. And so we had one question that came in here from Alvin Reyes asking, what was your daily ad spend, and then what ad platforms did you utilize? So I guess in the beginning, and then even now, I mean, you don't have to get into budgets now if you don't want to, but what were some of the things that you did invest in terms of marketing to get your name out there?
Branding as far as the vehicles is big. Getting
Nice.
the brand out there and getting the name out there. When we first started, we did a couple home shows and stuff like that just to get out there in the community. But the biggest thing from day one until now is Google. Getting the right company and getting the right SEO and PPC going and getting the phone ringing. So that's always been our biggest focus, has been Google. Local service ads, which is also Google, as you know, that's been an awesome platform. And when we started, I think we jumped on pretty new into the platform. So we've always been ranked good and show good. So we do well. Google 100%. And we do some mailers as well to get out to, we're in a magazine that we've done from conception until now. It's called the Hometown Values Magazine, but we get good return on that. And besides that, it's Google and that mailers magazines that we do.
Have you noticed, a question for you on the marketing component of things? From when you started, I mean, if Google's been a big thing for you from the very get-go, have you noticed your conversions or your ad spends becoming better the more that you've had your brand out there?
Yeah, for sure. The reports we get, we're teamed up with Rhino, and the reports we get from Rhino, they're pretty detailed. So we're definitely spending less per ads now than we were a couple years ago, now that we're branded a lot better.
And that's a key takeaway for a lot of people that are listening to this. If you're brand new and you want to dominate the market, it's going to take some time to build up that authority with branding. Branding is the biggest thing that you can do to help your online conversion work, right? I mean, like Evan and I know this, before we were in print magazines selling branding, right? But a lot of people didn't have the internet marketing down to be able to help capture the branding efforts that they were putting forward. So it was essentially wasted spend at that point in time. So it's the neat thing to be able to now, when people see that, and that's actually a common theme that we hear and we see a lot, on our show, is that people that have a great brand, have a great community feel, are out and present in the marketplace, have better results for their online marketing. So walk us through One Stop Heating and Air Conditioning. It's a fairly unique in terms of the coloring. Walk us through the decision to wrap your vehicles, how you wrap them, the brand that you have, and everything that goes into it.
Okay. I'd say Google again. Google. Everyone goes to Google, right? So decided to start the business, didn't have an idea on color, branding, company name. I mean, just knew that we wanted to start an HVAC business. So I literally Googled a good company name, HVAC company names, and One Stop was on that list, and I liked the sounds of it. And it was pretty easy from there. Just check Doppel to make sure that it wasn't being used. And it was like One Stop is the one. So we went with that pretty quick. And it was pretty quick and easy to pick. When I started this, it was before I was on Facebook and networking with all these people in the HVAC industry. So I didn't know about Dan Antonelli or none of those guys. So I went on a website on my father-in-law's guidance. It's called 99 Design, which is just a logo building website. And it was really cool because there's different steps you can do to get people to compete and try to get your business. Designers and people do that. So in that couple weeks that we were doing that, I probably got 300 or 400 or 500 different designs to choose from, and was able to really form it. So it started as something different. We almost went with a stop sign design because of the One Stop name, but I just like this design and the colors. It's funny. I'm a football fan, sports fan. Denver Broncos is my team, even though they're not doing too well right now. But that's where the colors came from, was from my football team.
Nice and simple, right? Like, there a lot of guys overcomplicate it, and I'm not talking the experts within the space. I'm just talking businesses, right? I mean, it's simple and it's clean. Sometimes simple, and we were chatting beforehand. There's different ways to have the branding impressions on there, and I love what Dan Antonelli does, but it's not a fit for every single person out there for their business. Like, you look at, we were talking about our logo, HVAC revealed. It's really just a stamp over the HVAC words, right? One Stop, simple, clean. But here's the thing that you have in common with, our brand being simple and clean. The colors make it pop. Right. And it's memorable behind that. So look, you can have that simplicity, just make sure that it's memorable with it. So brand new question.
Yeah, let's do it. While you're pulling that up though, You mentioned Chris and Rhino, so I thought I'd give him a quick shout out here too. But there you go, JP, my man. He's got a great story, and he's on a rocket ship. So there you go.
There you go.
Little compliment from Chris. Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
So, all right. Random question. Favorite time of the show where we pull out a random question from the interwebs that our guest has no clue what it is. So we're going to put you on the spot for it. What's the last book you gave up on and stopped reading?
I'd have to look in my library. Because I did start a book just that I need to get back on.
That's funny. When I read that question, when Evan put it in at the beginning of our show for us in our notes, I was about to say every book that's behind me up here.
And I'll probably have some people, because I heard this, I think, on your guys' podcast when you guys were interviewing. I don't know why I can't think of his name. Garage Door. Tommy Mello. You guys were Did you guys have Tommy Mello?
No, we haven't had Tommy. We had Al, one of his good friends.
Okay. Well, maybe it was Tommy's podcast, but he recommended this book, Selling to Homeowners.
Okay.
And I started it, and I haven't finished that book. So.
And you gave up on it?
I gave up on it.
Nice.
Reminder to maybe pick it up and go back to it.
I'm gonna have to go back to it because it is good.
I mean, me personally, I don't finish books.
I'm not good at books.
Yeah, and I don't even read them cover to cover. Like, I go straight. First page I read is the table of contents, and I pick and choose my chapters that I want to get into, and then I go to like the middle of that chapter and I start reading there. Right. Like, there's too many good books with great information out there to sit there and read a book cover to cover. Right. I don't need a story. Like, give me the Cole's notes and it's on to the next one, and let's see how we can actually apply it. That's the big thing, right? If you're not applying the knowledge you're pulling from a book, then what's the point? You're just wasting your time.
That's why I like, I have something called the Blinkist. And I think actually Roland from House Call Pro, when he was on, he has that as well, or a different app that it's literally just a summary. It's 15-minute, 20-minute Cole's notes of a book, and it's great. And it's good when you don't want to, when you want to not read news or anything related to, your work. It's completely, in mine's set on random. So I get a random free one every day that comes through, and I read it, and you get some interesting shit sometimes that you learn, and sometimes you're like, what did I just read? That made no sense. But hey, get it out there. So one of the things I want to kind of go back to the part of you being in the field, right? Mm-hmm. And so you're in the field, you're in the office, you're trying to balance it all. How do you go about managing a business and running it while you're still being out there and doing those things? It's a delicate balancing act. So what do you do? How do you make it work?
It is delicate. I like to try to spend most of the time I can in the office, even though it's hard for me because I've never been an office employee. I get here and I start thinking like, I got to get out of here. I got to go help somebody out. I got to go out and meet with some customers. But it's a balance. The more I'm growing my service department, the less I'm in the field. My goal is to focus and train. I've got a couple really strong service techs, and my goal is to focus and train the new ones and get them going up. But the one or two that I've got that are really pulling their weight, they're huge for me to get out of the field, because that's the biggest thing. If I get out of the field before, the numbers go down. And so I got to be in the field to keep the numbers up. But now it's just more the time I spend in the field, I want to be training while I'm in the field. I enjoy being in the field, and I don't know if I'll ever 100% be out of the field. I enjoy the customers and traveling around the valley and doing all that. But the better my service tech team gets, the less I'm in the field.
Yep, 100%. So with that then, because one of the things you mentioned was that your superpower is connecting with customers. So what are some things that you feel like you do better than anyone, and how you build rapport and really connect with a customer so that they're not just there for a one-time transaction, but they turn into a customer for life?
You said it, rapport, man. People buy from who they like, and it's just being personable. I love people, and so it's not hard for me to go out and meet people. And that's the most enjoyable part of my job. That's when I pull up to the job, to the customer's house, I don't have any stress because I'm comfortable with that. And that's what I'm trying to train into my younger technicians. They go to the house and they're like, "Where's the thermostat?" And I'm like, "No, sit there and talk to them. Like, if they want to talk about their dog for 10 minutes, sit there and talk about their dog." Like, and I'm just good at that. I'm natural people person, and I can communicate and talk with a lot of people. So I go in there and just get them to like me before I even think about their equipment. And by that time, if you're not pushing on them, you're really just building rapport. By the time you go look at the equipment and get done diagnosing, they already know they're doing business with you. They already trust you. So it makes that business transaction a lot more profitable, a lot more successful. But it's just about the people and just being personable and just being friendly and getting them to like you. And I guess I'm kind of a likable guy.
Well, but it works, right? That's the thing. Like you have a conversation, right? You hear, and you said the words like, and you said the words trust in there. And so we talk a little bit on the marketing side of things. No, like, trust, no, like, trust, no, like, trust, like ad nauseum. And so if they know you, they're already calling you because they've seen you in around the marketplace. So they already have that initial part of knowing you. Now you have to get them to like you, but you also have to get them to trust you. I mean, how many times have we heard in sales, "Hey, I really like you, but you went with somebody else"? It's because you didn't establish the trust.
Yeah.
Well, how do you get trust? Have a fucking conversation with people. Like it's that simple. Just people don't know how much what's the saying? They don't know how much
they don't care how much you know.
Right? They don't care about how much you know until you know how much they care. You care? I don't know.
Something like that.
Something like that.
I get it. And I think
I'm only a whiskey and a half deep too, and I still can't. Got to be this 1.75 liter bottle of whiskey.
Yeah, I was going to say you should show off your bottle to the people watching here.
Well, I drank the neck off of it, so it's.
I'm going to say it's still full.
It's a Kirkland special, 1.75 liters from Costco the other day, so I figured I would give her a go.
So let me ask you this, Jeff. How do you train that into people? Because I know for a lot of business owners, that's one of the hard parts. Again, is like, how do I train someone to something that comes natural to me?
It's difficult. It is difficult. It's repetition and picking the right personalities to be the right, like you said, the right people on the bus, but the right people in the right seats. And I've had people in service that are great employees, but I failed them by them being in service because they weren't great at communicating with customers. And so it's difficult trying to pick people that already have that personality. I think is the biggest conclusion to that, because if you don't, you could train that and beat that until you're red in the face, and they might not get it because they're just not comfortable talking to people.
Makes sense. Do you do any sort of like personality tests, like the Colby assessment or the Clifton Strengths and like the Gallup at all, in order to be able to determine a person's personality, see if they would be a good fit for there? Or do you do any role playing with them? How do you generally go about that?
We've done some personality tests before in hiring for sure. And that's something that I enjoy doing because it does tell a lot about you. A lot of it's, like you say, you have the conversation with them and you can tell mostly in the interview or meeting the person that whether they're outgoing, whether they're personable, or a lot of people are closed off and you can pretty much tell. So a lot reading them personally, as well as the personality test and asking the right questions.
Makes sense. Mm-hmm. Keep it simple, stupid, right?
Yeah.
Right in the interview, just on you got two check boxes, right? Installer or service tech. And
right. You can have somebody that you think is an installer or a service tech, and by the time you're done with that interview, you're like, nope, he's going to the installer department.
Yeah. Oh, and sometimes you're like, look, you could get it wrong in the interview too, right?
You could,
right, and it's also having that process in place to say, okay, is there checks in there to be able to make sure that they're in the right seat? And that happens, right? You know, like hire slow, fire fast is kind of a thing that I've always heard. I mean, you don't necessarily fire fast. It's kind of the analogy up here. I mean, you can move people around too, especially in a time where it's look, some guys are having troubles recruiting guys in. So don't necessarily fire the person if they're a shitty tech. Try them out at an install. If they're shitty at install, try them out at service. Bounce them around, move them, see if there's a fit somewhere. Don't go straight to the axe and, you know.
Right.
I was going to say trump them, but I just did. I was more so going with The Apprentice and say, you're fired. But gotta be careful from us Canadians talking about, you know.
Right. You guys don't have
presidents.
U.S. politics.
No.
Yeah. We still follow it just for the entertainment, but we've got our own joke.
We've got our own things like, you know, I got nice hair.
Yeah, exactly. I'm curious, is there anything that you have hired out and brought in terms of investing in your team for training and development of them to help improve some of their skills, for whether that's technical skills, whether that's people skills and communication skills or anything like that?
I'm constant, and I think my employees will say I'm constantly training on that or investing into that. So a couple of my technicians have been, and one just got back a few weeks ago from the Ultimate Tech Academy down in Arkansas.
Nice.
And that's been really good. They both really enjoyed it and came back a different technician. And then I've spent a lot of Joe Crucera, spent a lot of investment and time into Joe Crucera and training. I've worked with Joe. I met Joe back in 2014 when I was enrolled into his training at the company I worked for prior. So I've known Joe long before starting the business. So use his training a lot. I've used Victor's training. Victor's real aggressive and out and same kind of, he really cares about the people and he's good at training. So I've got a guy going down there. So it just depends on what you're looking for. Like the technical stuff, he does that as well. But like I've done the Ultimate Technical Academy for that, and the sales training, go to Victor for a lot of sales training and Joe for sure.
Amazing. I love it.
And some big names in there too.
Yep.
Right? But here's the key word, right, Stacy? So Joe, love my Joe. Also love Victor too. So
yeah, another business owner that crushes it in terms of investing in her team, right? And
I'm excited to meet Stacy. So I'm taking, my wife is going out with me to Victor's event in October, and I'm excited to meet Stacy and her husband. So
nice,
cool.
Well, you can go shake Evan's hand in person too. He'll be there.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. But here, the key word, you use the word invest. Right. Yes. And we even talked about it in marketing too. You used the word invest. You didn't use it as a cost. You use it as an investment, you know, because it pays you something in return, right? You might not see it right away, but if your techs, if your techs and even your selling techs, they can get better. They can close that one extra job. They can add that extra little bit to your average ticket. Now you've recouped that as an investment, right? Because they've gotten better at what they do, and it only serves them. And when you keep them, when you keep training and you keep investing and you keep those things fresh, your team is going to want to stay with you a lot longer. You know, you hear it all the time. Guys, I can't keep guys around in my business. Well, okay. Well, what are you doing to invest back into your team?
Right.
Well, nothing. Okay. Well, invest into them, train them, keep them happy, keep them learning. That's the thing is like, okay, we may joke, you know, and I joke that I don't read books, you know, very often. I might listen to a lot of books. I listen to a lot more than I read. But humans like people, we want to learn. We're wired to learn things. So you have to constantly give them things to learn in different ways and different content. So I'm glad that you have that as part of your business. So
yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
So let's flip the script here a little bit and look at some of the struggles that you went through, because it hasn't always been this smooth sailing, easy road to where you're at now.
I was gonna say, is this smooth sailing and easy now?
No, but that's the picture that a lot of people would paint in their minds. It's like, oh, you started in 2018, started the business, right? It's now 2021, and you're already at 3.5 million and a staff of 15 people. Like, gosh, like everything just must be going right. It must be so easy. He doesn't know the struggles that I've been through, right? So let's pull back the curtain here a little bit and take a peek at what it is that you went through. What lessons did you have to learn along the way to get to where you're at?
Well, I tell people growing a business or starting a business is like aging in dog years. Like as a person, every year is equivalent to 7 when you're starting a business. Just the people, man. That's the biggest thing is finding the right people and investing into the employees here to grow the business. It hasn't always been easy. Like I said, I can go out in the field and sell 1 or 2 or 3 million, but I might not have any employees that want to work for me. And that's been the learning part is just investing into the employees and caring about what they want and trying to help them get to their personal goals, which in turn helps me get to my company and personal goals. So that's the biggest thing. And I mean, it hasn't been easy for sure. I mean, we've been successful. We've been able to get some revenue in, but it doesn't always mean that we've got the best profit in, and it doesn't mean that we've always done the best job. So it's stressful, man. I had my dentist ask me, he's like, "Is it slow right now?" He's like, "Are you stressed about that?" And I said, "I'm stressed whether it's busy. I'm stressed that it's busy. I'm stressed that it's slow." It's tough. And just the people is the biggest thing. The people is what's going to keep the company going. So investing and trying to keep the people and keep their goals in mind and keep them moving the company forward.
Makes a lot of sense. Well, and people only see at the end of the day, they see the good things, right? And let's be honest here. People don't post about the shitty stuff that happens in their day on social media. Right. They're not going to, because they want the good things, because they want to have this allure that everything is going on right and positive in their life. But building a business, success, it's like an iceberg.
It's hard as shit.
Right. It's hard as fuck, to build a business. But again, people only see that, right? And like, for us, work from home, people are like, "Oh, you work from home, it's easy." No, it's actually not. It's probably more difficult to work from home than it is going to an office. Right.
I would imagine.
People only see, especially when you have a screaming 3.5-month-old at home, and you just put on these guys and turn on like complete noise blocking in order to be able to work. But they see the iceberg, right? They see the 10% of the success, where there's 90% on the bottom that people don't see, that people don't talk about. So if you were to go back in time to a short 3 years ago, to tell yourself 1 to 3 things, I'll give you an out there on versus saying 3 things, but 1 to 3 things that you would tell your past self, something that would have accelerated and made your life easier as a business owner, what would it be?
Being more patient is the first thing that would make my life better as a business owner. I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I'm not good with on-the-spot questions, guys.
It's all good. It's all good. I know my dad always says a bad dad joke here is, if I wanted more patience, I would have been a doctor.
So let's unpack patience. Is that patience within like results and expectations of the business? Is that patience with people? Like where does that come up?
Probably patience with people and the processes more than anything. The results, it's hard to be patient with that too, but we've seen decent results. I mean, not what we want to see. We always want to be better, but patience with internally with myself, with people, and body language, like I said, not being frustrated, because I was telling one of my top sales guy that he's a really top producer. I told him, I was like, me and you can make this company go up or down just by our body language alone. Like if we come in grumpy and with our head down, like the whole company starts to follow that. And they're like, "What's wrong? What's going on?" So that's been one of the biggest things I've learned is I've got 15 people that I'm focusing on. It's not just my day-to-day struggles and my day-to worries, because that's like, I just need to go sell some jobs, need to get some installs on the board. That part of it's easy to handle and to deal with, but the 15 people is the thing that I've been through some people because, I've been learning that. So my first 2 years of business, the turnover rate was a lot higher than than I wanted to be. The last year of business, I've been able to get a lot better leadership team. That's what I didn't have the first couple years. So there you go. I just found my answer. It was I would have created that leadership team sooner.
Love that.
Well, and that goes back to what we were chatting about earlier, right? It's not your biggest strength. So hire somebody to fill that in, right? It's like, why would you be your own bookkeeper? Why would you be your own accountant? Right? Hire somebody that can be able to fulfill that role for you if they're better than you at it.
Right.
I also love, I just got to throw this up here because I laughed. I was trying to keep it in, but like, you almost really have to be a bit insane to do this gig because it's Hardy as shitty fuck. Haha, that's a real level of hard, by the way. But that's real talk, right? Like that is straight real talk. We've obviously opened it up, the curtains to talk about the struggles behind it. And it's a big thing, right? The sleepless nights as a business owner that you have that nobody else sees. You sit there, you try to go to bed and you're thinking about your business.
Yeah, waking up early, not being able to go back to sleep. No, and thinking about it like that, it's probably not. I mean, that's probably a big part to do with the turnover rate within companies is the emotional, the stressful part of it, that burden of people not being able to succeed versus the business part of it. Because the business part of it isn't the hardest part of it. Going out and selling a furnace and installing a furnace, that's easy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 100%. Well, that's what you've been doing for 20 years.
Yep.
Right? You are learning an entirely different skill set that is completely separate from being a technician.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's chat a little bit about the stresses part of things, and I really don't think people talk about this enough. What are some ways? Like, I mean, you know what? One can say alcohol; it's not a coping mechanism. But like, people say, "I go home and have a glass of red wine." Well, that's not necessarily the best way to cope with it. I mean, that's temporarily something that might help you get away from it all. But what are some things that you've done in terms of some of the stress that have helped you cope with the stresses of running a business?
Balance. You got to learn balance. Even though starting business can take a lot of time and focus, you still got to be able to separate yourself from that. So vacations, hanging out with my family, my wife and my kids. That's it right there. Family helps level that out.
Nice. I love that. And I love that you said the vacation part. I heard somewhere that it's like half of people in around there don't utilize all of their vacation time in a year. And that's US and Canada, by the way. It's not just a US thing, it's a Canadian thing. Where you look at places like Europe, for example. I had a buddy that he was working in Dubai, and they're like, yeah, here you go. You start with 6 weeks vacation, no probation period, no nothing. Take it all. You literally have to take it all. France has mandated that you can't check work email past a certain time, or you risk being fined. Like and you look at them and but it's serious, and they actually have a really good quality of life as a result of being able to disconnect and have that balance to be able to get away from it all, especially in a connected world, right? So great thoughts on that is to be able to, take time away from the business, take time to disconnect, get away from it all. If it's a Saturday or a Sunday, turn your phone off, right? Some of the best things you can do is turn your phone off for 24 hours. Some people are like, I never will live without it. Do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't check your phone and everything. Like, I have an app on my phone that disables my notifications from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. For certain things. So text messages will still come through, but like all the Facebook shit, I mean, I don't even have emails on there. And it really helps somebody be able to help compartmentalize and take those mental breaks, which is a big, big, big thing. It's not all work, not all the time.
That's a smart idea to just turn them off.
Yeah. So, well, it's funny. I was listening to a podcast this morning. It was Greg McAfee, who we've had on the show before as well. And, another $50 million business owner. But he was talking on his show about a buddy of his that was running a business. And he would always ask him, how are things going? How are you doing? And every time you'd ask him, oh, it's fantastic. Things are going so great. Like, it's so amazing. And he's like, I knew he was full of shit. I mean, Greg's been in business for, 30 years now. Like, it's been a long time that he's been doing it. And for him, he knows you can't bullshit a guy that's been in business that long. That shit's gonna go wrong sometimes.
Yeah.
Right. And it can't always be great. And it's the business owners that will never open up and talk about the struggles and the stresses when they're going through them, that just keep like burying that shit down. And they don't talk about it with, especially guys like you that have been there and they've done that before. Being able to open up and say, like, how do I get through this? Like, let's take a shortcut here and not have to figure everything out myself. Right? Like you've hired Joe and you brought him in to help your team to overcome some shortcomings with working with the team, right? You've hired the right people. You brought in marketers, you brought in trainers to be able to shortcut your success. So if someone was wanting to get a hold of you, best places to do that would be
Jeff at onestoputah.com.
So we both have to put it up at the same time. Evan and I were like telepathically reading each other's mind because I was about to segue into the exact same thing that he's talking about. So I'll just keep talking and let you continue.
Right. So Jeff at One Stop Utah, make sure you hit him up there. So if you do have any questions for him, how he runs his business, things that he does, make sure you reach out to him there. onestoputah.com is the website if you want to peek in on that and see what he's doing well. Steal from the best with pride, as long as you're not in the same market.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, to wrap it up, we do have one final question for you. And I guarantee you this one will leave you thinking for a little bit because you seem to not know how to answer some questions right on the spot. But hey, that's all right. What's one question that you wish people would ask you more, but they don't?
Shit. We might as well end it now. I don't know. I don't know.
We're gonna practice our sales skills and sit here really quietly until you come up with an answer.
Right.
It's like, fuck these Canadians.
Right, fucking Canadians.
Sorry, eh?
Right. I don't know, eh? I don't know the answer to that question.
Let me ask you this, let me rephrase it in a different way then. What is a topic that doesn't get discussed enough that you feel like you are really great at and really have a strong knowledge base to answer?
Customer service, but that gets discussed enough. I don't know.
I would think that it doesn't get discussed enough.
It's the thing that everyone says they're great at and they care about, but they don't do anything different or unique to really separate themselves.
You're right. I mean, I think that a lot of people hold different standards. So we hold the customer service as a very high standard. So it's like a normal thing that we try to provide 5-star customer service, but then you call and you can't even get somebody else to answer the phone if you're trying to call a contractor. So we always make the comment to our customers that we're a customer service company that just happens to do HVAC. So customer service, focusing on the customers.
Love it.
It's almost like a Simon Sinek start with why type quote right there.
Yeah,
I love that. So what is something that you've implemented within your business to hold that high standard of exceptional customer service?
Training and accountability, internal with customer service. We're listening to our CSR's calls and constantly training and trying to help them improve on their customer service skills. And then weekly meetings with our service techs and our installers. And customer service is always one of the main topics we talk about in every meeting.
I love it. That's your reputation. So
yeah, for sure.
I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jeff, for joining us on the show today. We really appreciate your insights. We appreciate the secrets you had to share. And until next time, cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks for watching another episode of HVAC Success Secrets Revealed. Before you go, 2 quick things. First off, join our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/HVAC Revealed. The other thing is if you took one tiny bit of information out of the show, no matter how big, no matter how small, all we ask is for you to share this. No matter what platform you're consuming this content on, hit the share button and introduce this show to others in your contacts list so they too can unleash the ultimate HVAC business. Until next time, cheers.